Police and corrections officers take an oath to serve and protect. You'd expect when they're injured on duty, they're taken care of.
But Chief Investigator Darcy Spears has a heartbreaking story about a system that many say is letting our officers down.
A corrections officer and his family are living a nightmare. After an unfortunate accident caused a spinal cord injury, he feels like he was thrown away when he just wanted to heal and go back to work. That's because instead of helping, he says workers' comp is copping out.
The pain is always constant. It just seems to be getting worse.
Robert Stills spends most of his time managing pain and doing what he can to keep his body moving.
It's starting to get more difficult. I get maybe 1 or 2 or 3 days a week where I can't actually do anything.
His wife, Vicky, feels helpless and heartbroken.
Our family's not the same anymore. My husband's not the same person. In some ways, I've lost my husband. He's not able to do things he was able to do before.
Before, Robert was an energetic outdoorsman who loved travel, was in great physical shape, and was an involved and active father of 4.
I always enjoy life. I was spending time with kids, doing sports with them.
He spent 4 years in the Air Force serving our country before moving on to a career in healthcare accounting. At age 42, he changed course, becoming a corrections officer at the Clark County Detention Center in 2008. But that chapter was cut short on April 10, 2013, when Robert pulled a heavy cart full of inmate meals off an elevator.
Yeah, I was pulling a cart out of the elevator and you kind of had to turn, and when I was turning, one of the wheels locked up or broke, and I felt the pain in the shoulder and the neck.
Robert filed for workers' comp. He went to urgent care where the doctor told him to get an MRI stat, but workers' comp initially denied Robert's claim, so he got an MRI on his own, and sure enough, it shows multiple discs in his neck damaged, at least 2, pinching his spinal cord.
It got to where he couldn't barely walk without help. His hands, he couldn't use them. I had to help him with every physical need.
Vicky talked to a lawyer and soon learned what many say are dark secrets about the workers' comp system.
They have you hostage, and those were his words. You are held hostage in this state. The law says they have 30 days to decide whether it's really work comp or not.
A workers' comp doctor confirmed his symptoms are a direct result of the incident he described as occurring on the job. Even so, Robert didn't get the workers' comp approved MRI until months later, and surgery 82 days after his injury.
Said it created white matter damage, and that's what the doctor said. That's going to be dead. I'm going to have nerve issues, for the remainder of my life.
After battling delays and outright denials, Robert's family wants to know how an insurance adjuster can override the ER doctor's immediate order for an MRI. But there's little he can do to hold them accountable because Nevada law states you cannot sue your employer or a third-party company in workers' comp cases, even when they violate the law.
This is all about money.
Randy Sutton is a former Metro lieutenant.
I wish I could tell you that what is happening in Robert's case is an isolated incident, but it's not.
After 24 years on the force, Randy suffered a heart attack while on patrol. He says Metro's workers' comp delayed and denied his claims too, and he's seen it happen to hundreds of officers.
The desperation in these law enforcement families is something that is so incredibly dramatic to see, and so tragic is the only word that I can use.
Robert's battle is now against complications typical of spinal injuries, which will plague him for life. And Vicky says there's something else that's slowly killing her husband.
Sleeping is the biggest thing.
The pain is so bad it cuts through, keeping Robert from getting much more than minutes of sleep at a time.
He has about 7 years from the injury before his body just shuts down.
As they stare down his fate, they still have to fight. The system they expected to help Robert remains their biggest adversary, denying and delaying care, forcing them to file appeal after appeal, overwhelming them with paperwork.
I was spoiled fruit. That was no good. Discarded.
Now knowing just what could happen to someone you love in the blink of an eye, Vicki is fighting for change.
I want to make a difference with my husband's case because he only has a limited time, and I want what happened to him to make a difference. I lost my husband. I want what happened to him to make a difference.
Even though Robert is openly talking about his case, Metro says state law prevents them from talking to us about any workers' comp issues. We also reached out to the insurance company that handles workers' comp for Metro, but they declined an on-camera interview too. Randy Sutton is creating a new national organization called Wounded Blue to help officers in these situations. We have a link on ktnv.com for more information.